Hi, good morning. Thank you, Steve. And thanks to all of you for coming. As Steve mentioned, board members, Planned Giving Advisory Council members, other friends, you are all supporters of this organization and a member of what we call the Vanguard Society, a giving society. And a Vanguard is a group of people leading the way in new development or new ideas. And this is a giving society that we've just started, recognizing your lifetime giving to the Institute. So there are 5 salient features of this organization that I want to emphasize today. And one is that we have a clear and powerful focus. We're about the immune system. The second point is that we're a special kind of organization. We are an independent research institute. We're very collaborative. We're accomplished. I'll do a little bit of bragging while you're here. And also we're practical. And that means that we want discoveries to get out into the world and to help with drug development or in clinical trials to help people. That's the ultimate goal. So how is it that the immune system can influence so many diseases? Well, one thing is that immune cells go everywhere in your body. They're constantly patrolling different portions of your body, circulating in highways, if you will, which are blood vessels or lymph vessels, and then stopping along the way at stations, which are called lymph nodes. And when they get really excited, they'll get activated and go into tissues to fight infection. So they go everywhere, and one illustration of that is here. You can see they're very dynamic, and actually this shows how these cells are moving around in a lymph node. There's actually B cells and T cells in this movie. I want to go into a little detail about some accomplishments that I think are important and interesting. And one is about Parkinson's disease. So Parkinson's disease is a neurodegenerative disease. I'm sure most of you are familiar with it. 23,000 people die from it every year. And for many years, there's been the idea that the nervous system and the immune system are very separate and don't interact. But they do, and this is work from Alex Sete and investigators here and at Columbia University. And they showed that patients that have this disease are making an immune response to a particular brain protein called alpha-synuclein. And this was published in Nature, which is the most prestigious scientific journal. Another notable accomplishment is work from Shane Crotty, who will be delivering the Life Without Disease lecture I mentioned earlier. And he is trying to train the immune system to respond to HIV, to respond to the virus that causes AIDS. And some of the work is in primates, some of it is using human blood, and some in mice. And this is the virus, and it's a very tricky virus. It kind of coats itself with a shield of carbohydrate or sugar molecules that the immune system doesn't like to respond to. And so there's a kind of a stepwise process by which you have to train your immune system to make what are called broadly neutralizing antibodies. The other thing the virus does, which is quite interesting, is it mutates very rapidly. So if you get infected with HIV, you'll have more different kinds of viruses than all the recent flu virus epidemics in the world in one individual. So there's a few places where the virus can't change that the immune system has to target, has to get by this carbohydrate shield. It's a little bit like Star Wars, I guess. And to target the immune system in that way is very difficult. And Shane and his colleagues are making progress. So the direction is maintain the focus on immunology. Don't get too broad. Immunology is broad enough, as I think I've already told you. Don't overextend ourselves or overexpand. Don't do things we can't afford. We don't have debt. Continue to support scientists to enable maximum research creativity. Strengthen and expand our partnerships, which are very critical. And importantly, enhance translation through patents, intellectual property, drug development, clinical trials. However, we can get the fruits of our knowledge to the public. So translation is important at this institute, and there are unmet needs, and I'll just tell you briefly about some of that. So one is the San Diego Center for Precision Immunotherapy, and this is a collaboration among all the institutes on the Torrey Pines Mesa, so includes Salk and the Sanford Burnham and Scripps. But in particular, this effort is led by Ezra Cohen and Steve Schoenberger. And the idea is to translate scientific advances in immunology into more precise and effective treatments for cancer. And we know that cancer immunotherapy has to be precision medicine based, has to be based on your tumor, the mutations that are driving the growth of your tumor, which aren't necessarily going to be applicable to the next person. And that's what Ezra and Steve are working to do. together. Another effort that we have is Together for Asthma. It's also a collaboration with UCSD and Rady Children's Hospital, which is part of UCSD. And I show you some of the players here, the physician scientists, so Praveen Akuthota and Sonia Jain, and our own Vijay. And Greg Somois is our genomics director, and Albin Suarez is the executive director for administration. And the idea here, again, is precision-based medicine for severe asthma, smart trials, get some information on the underlying immune cause of the disease, and select the patients for trial based on that. And that way, we hope that when you see that long path from the discovery to the clinic, we hope we can shorten that line. This is also, this has some NIH support, but this is also an opportunity where we want to raise funds to boost this asthma center. And finally, there's Klaus Ley, and he's the head of our Division of Inflammation Biology. And Klaus and others have shown that this cell type that I'd mentioned already before, the T cell, is critical in forming the plaque that can block an artery. And what Klaus wants to do is manipulate the immune system and create a therapeutic vaccine that would prevent the T cells from causing the plaque. So it's a very novel idea, a vaccine against atherosclerosis. And it could work. He has some beautiful what we call preclinical data in mice, and we need to go to the next step. And we also need to raise money for that effort. We're going to make progress. And here are some things that I know we're going to make progress in. Vaccine design, clearly. Gearing up the immune system to fight cancer. That battle's halfway won already, or a quarter way. I'm not sure exactly how far, but pretty far. And this last one, identifying the causes of chronic inflammation and autoimmunity, that's going to be a longer fight, but we're making progress. We work on diseases here, and we translate. We want to translate. And if we see an obvious translation, if there's so-called low-hanging fruit, we'll go for it. But we have to do basic research too, because we don't really understand how human genetic variation affects the immune system and affects how people will respond. So we have to keep walking down that road as well. So life without disease is really what we think about. And if you ask me what disease exactly will be cured based on the research here in the next 10 years or the next 5 years, I don't know. I'm confident that we'll contribute to cures, but it may be that somebody working on type 1 diabetes will have an insight into cancer. The new cancer immune therapies weren't found out by people interested in curing cancer. The original discoveries came from people mucking around the lab, or they were interested in viral infections, they were interested in something else. So I think we have to appreciate that. But what I can tell you also is that there are a lot of places you can support that do great biomedical research. You could support Harvard Medical School, for example, or other big medical schools. But what I can tell you for certain is that your dollars here will be used very wisely, in a very focused way, and you'll be able to see how they're being used in an organization of this size that is not very large, but very effective in what we're doing. I really appreciate your attention. Thanks a lot.